Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Al sent me a story about a ridiculous waste of taxpayer money. And it's not just that they wasted the money, but they did something, I think, rather nefarious with the money and wasted it. So from ArizonaFamily.com, azfamily.com, Attorney General investigating whether Tempe used taxpayer money to spy on citizens. So taxpayer money spent to spy on citizens. That's the question. And it looks like they did, by the way. Dennis Welch wrote this. The Attorney General in Arizona is investigating what was going on behind the scenes at Tempe City Hall as the mayor and others tried to convince voters to approve a massive sports and entertainment complex right there. Now, here's the problem. They have an idea. They put it before the voters. The voters will decide. You think that's the end of it? Well, no. That's not quite the end of it. See, Tempe voters rejected the proposal by a wide margin back in May. Very, very unpopular, apparently. This did not go over well. So now the Attorney General is looking into whether the city used taxpayer money to spy on its citizens during the process leading up to that election. 6 months before the election, Tempe inked a deal with a political supporter and campaign contributor to the mayor. The 5-page contract signed by the former Tempe city manager paid a political consultant $10,000 a month, and one of the jobs that he was tasked with was to watch opponents of the proposed arena. So find out who's against this, follow them, study them, watch them, and report back to us. Among those tasks, the city wanted the consultant to identify social media pages and groups, analyze individuals, and determine where they lived. Now, that is one of those things that can go both ways. Because if somebody is against this who doesn't live there, well, they shouldn't have much say in what's going on there, right? On the other hand, finding out where people live is something that can be done to threaten somebody. So the mayor declined an on-camera interview and through a spokesperson says he cannot comment on a pending investigation, ironically, which is about another investigation. Because remember, they're investigating opponents of the arena. The city issued a statement acknowledging the investigation, that is the current one with the AG, saying we intend to cooperate fully with the Attorney General and we look forward to the full truth coming out. Okay. Isn't that the craziest thing you can imagine? Said the longtime Tempe business owner who helped lead the opposition against the proposed arena. I'm really appalled. In fact, they did hire somebody. Now, she said that she's been a past supporter of some city council members. She's now disappointed and says she feels like she's living in a surveillance state. The contract signed to keep track of opponents was for 6 months, but it was canceled after 3. So the city spent about $30,000 in surveilling its own residents. So presumably it would have been a $60,000 contract. It got canceled. We don't know why, but half of it was executed. And so you have a situation where the people in charge want to do something, that is build an arena. They need public support to build the arena, presumably because it involves so much financing. And so they say, okay, let's put that on the ballot. They put it on the ballot and they fear it might lose because of opposition. So they decide, okay, let's surveil our opposition. And the real question is, what are you going to do with that information once you get it? Because that wouldn't be in the contract itself. So when the AG investigates this, hopefully they're not going to just look at the contract and decide, okay, yes or no, that's a good thing or a bad thing. Hopefully they're going to look at it and go, okay, let's start asking people, why'd you do this? What did you do with the information you got? And what were you hoping to do with it if you'd gotten it for 3 more months before you canceled that contract? Because that's just a crazy situation. And, there are a lot of things that get put on the ballot, and people have the right to say yay or nay to them. That's the ballot process. And I've mentioned before that my father was an educator, and he actually worked in school administration for a while. He actually ran a school district. And the school districts in many places are supported partly by local millages. And a local millage is where people who own property or homes in that school district pay a small amount of money, figuratively speaking, into their taxes, and then that tax money goes to support whatever the millage is for. So if you buy a piece of property, you might find that previous to you buying it, there had been a millage passed. And the millages are usually limited in the sense that it'll be like a 5-year period of time. This small percentage will be added onto your taxes every year, and that small percentage will then go to this millage. The money will be gathered for that purpose and used. Sometimes it's used to extinguish a debt. So once a millage gets passed, they can borrow some money, and the millage goes to pay down that debt. And so while my dad was out where he was working, on one occasion I know, they wanted to build a new administration building for the school district. And so they said, okay, let's put that on the ballot. They put it on the local ballot, and it passed. And it passed, and so they got the millage, they built the local administration building, everybody was happy. Now, maybe times were different back then. I'm talking, 60s and 70s, and I understand some of these stories are getting old, on like Grandpa Simpson, right? Clouds. And I don't think my dad or anybody who worked with my dad hired a firm to surveil the opposition to find out what was going to happen, and or perhaps to do dirty tricks behind the scenes. But I do know they don't win them all, and I know that there was at least one millage my father was hoping would pass that didn't pass. And again, didn't hire surveillance to surveil the opposition. And so this is just a scary concept, because the reason you put something on the ballot, presumably that involves money, is I'm betting there's something that says they have to do that. In other words, the city can't just willy-nilly commit to spend a gigantic sum of money to build this arena or do what they need to do to raise the money without voter approval. Okay? So we're going to put that before the voters. But they can spend money to surveil the opposition to find out who's against this. That seems like a pretty bad use of money also. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's agitation in the near future that says, oh, by the way, city council and mayor, you cannot use our tax dollars to spy on us, the citizens. Because talk about a waste of money, but it's also being used for a bad purpose. That's the crazy part. We hear stories, the Golden Fleece Awards. We hear stories about people in government wasting money. They waste taxpayer money as if it's an endless supply of money that they just get to spend however they feel like it. And we hear about stupid things they spend money on. But you hear about this, and it's like, okay, it's stupid on that level, but it's also scary on another level, because you have the right to be against something if it's on the ballot. It's on the ballot, which means that we recognize people are going to be against this and for it. We just need to find out, are there more for it or more against it? That's actually how votes work. I mean, at this point, we're going back beyond simple math. We're going back to just a simple, I don't even know what to call it before you get to the math, right? We're going to have a vote. Are there more for or more against? And so we're going to spend money to find out who might be against it. Okay, that would only matter if you plan on doing something about those who are against it. And that's what scares me. So I hope the AG digs into this one. I hope the AG digs well. So Al, thanks for sending from azfamily.com. Attorney General investigating whether Tempe used taxpayer money to spy on citizens. It looks like they did. The question is, was it legal? And what were they trying to do, really? That's the question. So questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. It turns out the answer to my problems wasn't at the bottom of this pint of ice cream, but the important thing is that I tried.